every business really needs an AI department. So that's industry. That's what they're doing. But the implication is that every student, no matter what discipline they're in, should expect that they'll be entering a workforce where there's an AI department, where there's an expectation that they're using AI.
Back on Closer Look with Michael Friscolanti. I'm Scott Sexsmith. Well, we made it. It's Friday. You know, it's funny. Even these short work weeks, sometimes, man, they just drag and drag and drag. You find that?
This was a short work week.
It was. Yeah. I know, but it felt like, you know, it was just as long as a regular 5-dayer or even longer.
Yeah, you had to remind me, to be honest. I forgot that it was a short work week.
One of us has to pay attention. I'm a little draggy today. Up late last night. These West Coast games, man.
What time do you go to bed? Like 9 o'clock?
Okay, full disclosure, the older I get, I look forward to going to bed. I mean, like 9:30, 20 to 10, I'm like, let's do this.
You're really appealing to our younger audience here on the podcast. Yeah.
Anyway, these games that start at 8:30 and they're still, going at 11:30.
The Jays are looking unbeatable right now. Honestly, those bats from every part of the lineup.
Yeah.
Jimenez back-to-back games and third inning 2-run homer. It's crazy.
It is crazy.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
And honestly, Max Scherzer, that's what playoff baseball is all about. You have a pitcher, what a story. What is he, 41 years old?
41, yeah.
He's had a great career. He's a Hall of Famer. He's a winner everywhere he's gone.
Yeah.
And he hasn't pitched well lately, right? And then he goes out there in Game 4 of the ALCS and not only pitches amazing, but has this iconic moment with his manager coming out on the field.
Yeah.
He's screaming at him, "I'm good, let's go," and he sends him back. It was fantastic.
Yeah, love it. We had Jamie Campbell on the program several episodes ago, and I wanted to make a quick mention and shout out to the city of Timmins. They've kind of rallied around what the Jays are doing, and of course, for those of you who are familiar with Jamie on Blue Jay Central, he's been known for this expression when he's describing a home run that is, he hit it all the way to Timmins. For years, he has said that. So the folks in Timmins at our site, Timmins Today, and the city of Timmins kind of pooled the resources, got together, and they're doing a fundraiser with T-shirts that have Jamie's iconic saying on it, "He hit it all the way to Timmins," and the proceeds are going to the oncology department at the Timmins District Hospital.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's a great story. So if you go to timminstoday.com, there is a link in the story where you can purchase your T-shirt and, of course, help out a wonderful cause.
And if I know the story right, you actually helped put Jamie in touch with the folks in Timmins. He's on board and was happy to help promote this, which is amazing.
Yeah, I talked to Jamie this morning, and he thought it was incredible and wanted to throw his support behind it. So he's pushed it out on his platform. So, yeah, good stuff. Good stuff, Timmins. Way to go.
If they head to the World Series, we could have hundreds of people wearing these T-shirts.
Well, and that's what I said to the people in Timmins. If they go to the show, and if Jamie happens to mention it on his show tonight, T-shirt guy better buckle in because he's in for a long night.
Watch out. The home of Bill Barilko, full of Blue Jays fans.
That's right. Okay, to today's show. We're talking education. We're talking government. And what's the future look like?
Yes, the new report out from RBC talking about how in these tough economic times, in these uncertain economic times, it's really a golden opportunity to pivot the way we think about post-secondary education, sort of like breaking the mold, I guess is the right way to say it. That there's some things we need to do to get ready for the economy that's coming and the changes that are coming and that have come along quickly. Things like defense spending, AI, energy projects, things like that. So we're going to we're going to talk about this report and to dig a little deeper into it.
All right, we'll do that with Jackie Pichette. Jackie is the Director of Skills Policy for RBC Thought Leadership. A new report from the Royal Bank of Canada says the country's post-secondary education system needs to take urgent and coordinated action in these uncertain economic times. Joining us tonight to talk about the report is Jackie Pichette. Jackie is the Director of Skills Policy for RBC Thought Leadership. Jackie, great to see you. Appreciate your time tonight.
Great to be here, Scott. Thanks for having me.
All right, before we dive into the report, Jackie, can you tell us about RBC Thought Leadership? What exactly is it?
Right, great question. So we are a think tank housed in Royal Bank of Canada. So we cover a range of areas, all related to the economy, interested in ensuring that Canada has a strong economic growth outlook. So I'm the lead of our skills policy research area, but I have counterparts in agriculture, energy, AI and technology. So we're covering the gamut of it, and putting out thoughtful research that hopefully is of use to sectors like the post-secondary sector.
All right, let's get into the report. It's called Powering a Post-Secondary Pivot, Bold Ideas to Advance National Ambitions in Defense and Space, AI, and Energy. What is the pivot we need, Jackie, and why?
Ooh, that's a big question. Well, and we're not alone in noticing this. So RBC Thought Leadership over the summer, in partnership with a group called the Business Higher Education Roundtable, we convened a series of discussions with industry and post-secondary leaders, policy thinkers as well, about the state of the post-secondary sector. And kind of this productivity paradox that Canada is experiencing, where we have really high and impressive educational attainment on the one hand, and then on the other, we have productivity that's going down. We have economic growth kind of at a stalemate. So what's going on there, and what's the disconnect? And we heard loud and clear from those discussions, again, in every region of the country, that the post-secondary system, generally speaking, is not quite in step with where the economy is moving, how quickly things are changing, and the skills that students, graduates are going to need to be successful and able to pivot with the economy as it changes. So we need to see programs that are modernized. We need to see curricula that are aligned with the directions that the labor market's going. But to be able to do that, we also need to address the funding crisis in the post-secondary sector. So we need and for the institutions to be able to maneuver in the way that I think government and industry is asking them to, and students, they need to be less busy putting out fires, quite frankly.
Mm-hmm. And there's definitely some fires that they're putting out now. Just as this report comes out, we're at a time where we see colleges and universities across the province, across the country, slashing programs, cutting staff, largely because of the new cap on foreign students. It's kind of a perfect storm of bad timing.
Yeah, absolutely. So the federal cap on international students is the most recent, I guess, change that has impacted institutions, but it's kind of the straw that broke the camel's back, so to speak, in the sense that provincial funding across the country has been, in real terms, declining over the past decade, and tuition has largely been frozen. So post-secondary programs at the undergraduate level across most disciplines costs about the same as they would have a decade ago. Mm-hmm. There's not many other services or products in Canada that you can say that about.
Mm-hmm. Jackie, as we talk about this pivot we need to make, it's a lot more than just changing the programs we teach or changing the curriculum of certain things we do. Is it pretty much where we need to break this thing open and start over?
I think it depends on the institution. I think it depends on the industries surrounding the institution. I think there are some really exciting examples across Canada right now of institutions doing things differently. I met with someone from the University of Calgary a couple of weeks ago, and they told me about their new energy program that is setting students up for the energy sector broadly. So it's an undergraduate program that, rather than focus on one specific career in energy, recognizing that that sector experiences a lot of boom and bust, they're giving people a breadth of knowledge with the understanding that, you're probably going to have to come back like the rest of us and upskill at some point during your career, but this will give you the foundation to be able to do that and adapt. I think that's a great example. There's probably many others out there, but in a lot of cases, I do think that curricula need to, and I'm speaking with the benefit of having heard these conversations over the past few months, and people describing to me how, in general terms, curricula really do need to be readjusted, right? Especially with AI. The comment, one of the people I spoke with had said, in an age where access to information and answers to most questions are available in our fingertips, right? We have handheld devices now where we can answer most questions very quickly. It means that education, which traditionally has focused on making sure students are able to answer complex questions, it needs to shift to ensuring they're able to ask creative ones. And that's a pretty big reorientation.
That's a great point. And we talk about AI all the time in our industry as well, and in so many different industries. And your report talks about how we need a post-secondary education system now where everybody, no matter what field they're in, has to be able to use these tools to their advantage. That's one of the things that came out of this, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, we heard that every business really needs an AI department. So that's industry, that's what they're doing. But the implication is that every student, no matter what discipline they're in, should expect that they'll be entering a workforce where there's an AI department, where there's an expectation that they're using AI. And we hear a lot from post-secondary about the risks and wanting to minimize those in introducing AI in the classroom. And that's fair, but there's also risks in having people join the workforce and using AI when they have no understanding of those risks, right? We should be equipping them early so that they're able to enter the labor market and leverage these tools responsibly.
It was a fascinating report to read just because, I have a teenage child as well. We're talking about potential careers and what to go into. And you talk about, how we're going to see a major boost in defense spending for one thing. And we're also, energy projects are going to be a major thing too. So can you give us an example of a school or a particular field where they need to realize this and what they can do to pivot themselves to be ready, say, for the massive defense spending that's going to happen in Canada?
Oh, wow. Yeah, interesting. So I think there's a huge opportunity for research. So Canadian universities, polytechnics have such strength with research. And the only way that this money is going to be spent is with a big chunk of it going towards innovation. Universities are really good at ideation, not always as great at taking those ideas and moving them into the next big thing that changes the labor market, right? AI is a great example. We have the godfather of AI in Canada, and yet very little of that came of that in terms of IP or commercialization, right? So there's a big opportunity, I think, if post-secondary is willing to partner across, like if we have polytechnics and colleges partnering with universities and then with industry joining in, I think that there's a big potential there to deliver research that can push us in strategic directions. It also, those kinds of research projects can serve as work integrated learning opportunities for students, right? They're getting to be involved in those kind of interdisciplinary projects, working with industry. There's a lot of wins when we approach things that way.
Jackie, one idea was for Canada to position itself as the North Atlantic Treaty Organization's firefighting nation. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, so unfortunately, I wasn't in the room that had that conversation, but I got to read the notes and I was like, what is this? This seems like such an interesting idea. But as I did some background research for the report, I learned that Canada actually is already a leader in our wildfire management, specifically the technology side of things. So there's a government initiative called Wildfire Sat, and it's a bunch of microsatellites, they're called, that are used to track the heat, measure the heat of wildfire activity, to try and anticipate where fire is moving and strategize around how to put these fires out. And so that's great for Canada, but it can also be helpful technology, expertise that we could be deploying to partner nations and really kind of putting our stamp on the world.
One of the other interesting things that came out that I read was how maybe we need to be allowing some, say, auto workers, for example, who already have a skill to get retrained quicker, perhaps for shipbuilding or space sector. So you're actually taking people with lots of lived experience, lots of time in that industry to be retrained. How widespread could that be?
Yeah, so this is a topic I'm really passionate about. There's a style of education in the States and other jurisdictions called competency-based education. And the idea is that rather than have your program be defined by seat time, so in Canada, a bachelor's degree is 3 years or 4 years, like that's the definition of how the degree, I mean, there's other rules to it as well, but the timing of it is a big feature. In competency-based education programs, there's no time requirement. The requirement is the competencies. For someone to earn that credential, they must demonstrate that they have mastered the full set of competencies. And it means that if someone has prior learning and experience, that they can come in and demonstrate. They're able to progress through that credential, that learning experience, and get the award much faster. I think it holds so much potential for a lot of adults looking to change careers.
I can only imagine how rewarding that would be for someone too. Like maybe they see that their specialty is kind of, it's something they need to get. It's going away. It's disappearing, which is happening, right?
Yeah.
And they get a chance to retrain. I would assume from the experiences you've seen in other jurisdictions, it must be rewarding for these people.
Absolutely, and it's more enticing, right? If they know that they can enroll in a program that's going to be flexible, they can learn at their own pace. They're not going to be in a room full of people who are fresh out of high school and starting from scratch. They're going to be learning at their own pace with a coach or mentor supporting them and building upon what they already know rather than having to waste time repeating content material that they don't feel they need.
I guess it begs the question, Jackie, can colleges and universities actually make those changes, make those pivots?
I think they can, and they already are in some cases. So in Canada, we have a few examples of competency-based education micro-credentials. TMU, the Chang School, has some great examples, and Bow Valley College as well. And our medical programs, so specialty programs in medicine, have competency-based, it's called CBD, competency by design, or I think. So it doesn't have the time-free component, but in these programs, there's a requirement that students have to demonstrate mastery of each competency before they can move to the next one. So the students aren't able to graduate faster in medical programs in Canada, but the fact that this groundwork is laid there across all medical specialties means that it's definitely possible for post-secondary institutions to be taking these ideas and running with them. In some cases, it would be very helpful if provincial governments would change policy frameworks and restrictions so that they're less bound by seat time.
The report's obviously getting a lot of attention. I read about it this morning in the Globe and Mail. What are people in the sector? How are they reacting to it? People in the post-secondary sector?
I've been kind of shocked by how welcome some of the ideas have been, which is great. I think it helps that we are laying out the case for increased funding. I think there's some relief that an organization as big as RBC is shining a spotlight on this issue. Post-secondary, our human capital, it's essential. If we want economic growth in this country, if we want to get productivity back on track, we're not going to do that without our post-secondary institutions. And so I think people are relieved to hear that. Nobody wants to hear, hey, you have to change what you're doing. But I don't think anyone in the post-secondary sector right now would say, everything's fine and we don't need to change. So I think there's an openness for sure.
Absolutely. You talked about funding. It's an endless question. You mentioned about tuition being frozen. Is it fair to ask you whether you think it's time for tuition to be unfrozen in Ontario?
Yeah, that's come up a lot. Obviously, in an ideal scenario, there'd be more provincial funding to dedicate to the sector, but there's really deserving competition for that funding right now in healthcare and elementary schools, you name it. So I do think there's probably room to increase tuition or to provide institutions the flexibility to do that, provided there's strong student financial assistance programs in place, because I think some of the issues we're talking about, major energy projects, for example, we need to upskill a lot of people. And the last thing we want to do is limit access to post-secondary education right now. So I think those financial assistance systems will be really important. But there are lots of people right now who can afford to pay more for post-secondary. We're not paying the true cost of those experiences right now, and probably more of us should be.
You did mention the foreign student cap as well. Was that something that came up during the discussions with your group? Did the government hit the right balance on this, do you think?
Yeah, that came up a lot. I think the predominant view that we heard was that there's been an overcorrection, and that we might anticipate the pendulum to swing in the other direction. The challenge with that is, especially when we look at colleges in Ontario in particular, a lot of programs are being closed right now. It's very difficult to just stand those programs back up when the time feels right to, open the doors again. And so I think it'd be wise for government to be paying attention to that and understand that, the decisions being made now will have long-term implications.
There's Jackie Pichette, the Director of Skills Policy for RBC Thought Leadership. Jackie, thanks for your time tonight. Have a great weekend.
Thank you, you as well.
Great conversation, and I wanted to ask Jackie, and maybe you can elaborate on this. Really, it's like a co-op program at the high school level on steroids, but at the post-secondary level, right? Get those kids out of the seats, get them into practical places where they can learn things hands-on, not from a book.
Yeah, it sounds like basically what the report is saying is that these are very uncertain economic times. Things have changed rapidly. And it's the post-secondary sector needs to pivot to match that, right? That there are certain industries and certain professions, and with AI hovering over all of it, that are going to need different kinds of workers and different kind of training. And so it's, I meant to ask her, I should have asked her, is this the end of the humanities, basically, right? That we're not going to no more English majors. I'm sure that's not.
Let's hope
that's not true, but yeah, I mean, it's really, if you're a young person right now, if you're a teenager in high school or someone about to head to college, university, I don't envy you. It's a tough world to decide what you're going to do, what's actually going to make me enough money to live a good life.
And it's a lot of pressure to put on a kid that's 17 or 18.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure. But it's important. Think tanks are great for this kind of thing because they do sit down with some really smart people and try to think about ways to look ahead. Whereas a lot of us are just living in the moment. I know I am. I'm always living in what's happening in the next 5 minutes.
Yeah.
You need to have these deeper thoughts and deeper conversations about how things are going to look.
Yeah, and the point that you brought up is a good one, right? The need is up here, but you've got post-secondary that's slashing programs, slashing staffing, so we need to find a way to bridge that
And we've
gap.
talked about this too, just the amount of defense spending that's going to happen in this country over the next decade is it's going to be unprecedented, right? So you're all of a sudden going to be recruiting and trying to retain a lot more people in uniform. You're going to be investing in all kinds of technologies, all kinds of research, all kinds of procurement, right?
Yeah.
It's going to be fascinating to watch that unfold, and you're going to need people who are well trained and experts at all those things, and so it's going to be fascinating to watch.
All right, let's put a bow on this one. On this week, it's a Friday. Let's kick off our weekend. We appreciate your time this week. Thanks for watching. CloserLookPodcast.ca or send us a note. We'd love to hear from you. CloserLook@villagemedia.ca. Tonight's program produced by Derek Turner. For Michael Friscolanti, our editor-in-chief here at Village Media, I'm Scott Sexsmith. Enjoy your weekend. We'll see you Monday night at 7 right here on Closer Look.
Frisco and Scott's Wardrobe provided in part by Moores, Sault Ste. Marie.